Alright, well, I still haven't decided whether or not I'm going to put the brass plate on the end of the patch box lid, but I thought I'd at least get this extra wood file down and insert the spring, because that's got to all happen to the certain location anyway, and if I decide I want to put the brass plate on, then I just have to take this surface down a little bit further to allow for the plate thickness. So all I'm going to do here is use a quick grip clamp to hold that in place, make sure it's nice and tight up against where it's supposed to be when it's closed. And I'm just using a half round file here. Take off the majority of the wood. Doesn't matter if we get into the butt plate a little bit at this point. That's going to have to be filed anyway. Really nothing too special about doing this. We'll probably fast forward through most of this. So getting close to being flush here, so I got to be careful not to start taking too much brass away. Need to kind of angle the file down a little bit more. So I'm getting close to flush down here. Now what I want to do is make sure that this line that forms here is nice and fair. I've got a little bit more concave here and a little bit flatter there, so and then I don't want this to be some convex curve going down this face. I think I want to keep this either flat, which would be better for the brass, or slightly concave. Alright. Okay, let me check this video and see how this is going on the camera. So that's getting pretty close. I want to sand this down a little bit, smooth out the file marks, and see how well the spring's fitting before I get too far. To do that, I'm just taking some happens to be 220 grit paper. I'm wrapping it around the same face of the file I was using. Generally speaking, you want to avoid sanding without a backer because it's less efficient and you end up rounding things over that you didn't mean to round over. So that's why I'm using a file as the backer there. Let's see how well or how close does the spring come into fitting here. So you got to watch, the spring's pretty well inlet. So the forward position of the spring, or the forward back position of the spring, is pretty well defined. And that means the position that this has to come back to is also pretty well predefined. And we're going to have to come in just a little bit more on the wood. So I'm just going to kind of push that in to help mark the location I need to come to. And we'll go ahead and file that down a little bit further. Probably turn the camera off for that. Let's see how we're doing. So that's pretty darn close to what we want. That spring out of there. Clean up that edge, take off any little fuzz. Also want to make sure that the corner of this brass right here isn't sharp. I want to round it over, but I don't want a knife edge there either. Put the patch box on the right way. Go back to the sandpaper, see if we can't smooth things out just a touch. So we still got some pretty rough file marks there, but let's see if we're getting dimensionally to the right point. Very, very close. We'll just press that in. I don't have the screw in yet, but you can see it's a little bit tight. It's rubbing on the wood just a little bit, but I ought to be able to see if that comes in and comes close to latching. So there it is in the down position, and the patch box is fit. So yeah, it's actually just about right. All I've got to do is clean up the fit here so that that's allowed to spring some. I think what I'll do, how do you break the tip off a file? I think what I'll do is relieve this corner just behind the tips of the spring so that that's got a little bit of wiggle room. So we'll take our little needle file here, and we're just going to kind of create a little bit of a flat spot there. Give that spring some room to move. Okay. And I need to go just a little bit wider than I did there. all I'm doing is creating just a little bit of a relief. So now the spring's able to move up and down. I don't have the spring screwed in to the wood yet, but oh, okay, so I think that's probably going to be pretty close once I get this actually screwed down. Looks like maybe I need to adjust the angle just a little bit because it's rubbing against this side of the patch box and patch box lid and not over here. I can probably adjust that by shaving a little bit down here and allowing that to turn slightly in the groove, or I could just take a little wood off of here. I'll look at that off camera here and decide what I'm going to do. Alright, well in the end I decided not to really make much in the way of adjustments. Once I cleaned out some of the little fuzz that's in there and broke some of the corners, it's clear. The spring isn't rubbing the wood anymore. You can see it moves up and down. It's not perfectly centered in the slot, but it's pretty darn close. And for the inside of a patch box, I don't think I'm going to mess with it anymore. I want to put the screw in. Remember, boys and girls, we lubricate our screws when we put them into hardwood. Just like before, I'm using some black powder bullet lube because there's a pot of it next to me, so it's handy. So let's tighten this down and see once the front end of the screw is immobilized and keeps the front end of that spring locked down where it's supposed to be. Let's see whether or not it actually clicks into place. Okay, so yeah, the spring moves pretty well. I can tell it's just barely touching the wood some here up in this bevel, but you know, I still have to finish sand that, and I may still put the brass plate on it. So see if it clicks. Click. Click. Nice and tight. Alright. I think that is a patch box lid pretty well fit. Okay, well, I'll do a little bit more sanding here, take out some of the tool marks. I'll take that clip back off, or the catch back off of there, so I can sand that properly, but you don't need to see me do that. One other thing that Kibler talks about, and it's worth mentioning in this video, is now that this is positioned where we want it, take a scribe and come along. I won't actually do this with the file, but take a scribe and come along and make a light scribe mark in the buttstock where the perimeter of the patch box lid stops. Maybe I will do it with a file. And the reason is the bottom of the patch box lid is flat, forms a plane. And the rest of the buttstock is going to be curved, and it comes up to the plane where the patch box lid is. So by scribing a faint line, you might be able to see that on camera even, that tells me where I need to stop when I'm coming in and filing and rasping and making the buttstock the final shape. So I'm going to go up to that line, but not past it. If I do, I'll end up undercutting the buttstock underneath this surface of the patch box lid, and there'll be a gap. We don't want that. So, all right, thank you.